What's up, guys? Farooqi Bros here, back with a review for Wonder Woman 1984. This will be a non-spoiler review. You can catch our full thoughts after the movie's out on the Build Different stream, but for now, we're going to give our standard review of the film, talk about things we like, things we didn't like, characters that excel, performances that work best, and in the end, we'll do our rankings for all 9 DC Extended Universe movies thus far. So I'll start with my thoughts first. First of all, you can catch my full written review on Rotten Tomatoes and on Comic Book Debate, so be sure to check that out to get my full in-depth thoughts on Wonder Woman 84 across all levels. But to give a short version of that for you guys here, I thought it was pretty good. I think I enjoyed it. I mean, one part of it, which I mentioned also in the review, is kind of state of things in the world right now, because in the whole year, there's barely been any movies. All movies have been delayed. So, and most people have never gotten a chance to even see something new this year. So Wonder Woman being the only true superhero movie, of course we have Birds of Prey, which is a comic book movie. This is a superhero movie. The first superhero movie of 2020, obviously for fans like us, we're naturally going to be a little more gravitating to this rather than, let's say, a normal year where maybe we would have been a little more harsher, maybe not. I'm not sure exactly how I would take it. We just watched it yesterday, so it's still processing totally to, you know, how this movie is going to sit as the days goes on. But that's the fun of movies, because your opinions change over time. Sometimes you like a movie better over time, sometimes you like it less. That's kind of how the business works. But things I liked about the movie, I liked Gal Gadot's performance. I thought she did a very good job in this movie. I felt it was very interesting that Gal has now played Wonder Woman multiple times, but in each movie, she never plays the same version of Wonder Woman more than once. So in BVS, she's playing the darker warrior Wonder Woman who's coming out of like hiding to fight Doomsday. Then in Wonder Woman 2017, she's very naive and she's first time coming to the world. So you get that kind of version of Wonder Woman who's new to everything and learning about herself. And then you get obviously Justice League, which was pretty bad. And then we'll get something better, obviously, in Zack Snyder's Justice League next year. But now we get to this movie, Wonder Woman 1984, which in my opinion, I think this is what Patty Jenkins in her mind thinks of as Wonder Woman at her own peak. Like peak personality, peak powers. Obviously, there's a ton of homages to Christopher Reeve, to Linda Carter, but the movie itself, you know, tonally, I think Patty Jenkins found the sweet spot for how she wants her Wonder Woman to be and how she wants her to exist in. And I think Gal plays that version of the character really well. As far as, you know, the plot and everything like that, I think there was some issues in the script which I felt like could have been a little better. I mean, that's some stuff that could have been a little cleaner, but overall, I think I enjoyed the film. And we can break down other aspects of it later, but I wanted to get quick thoughts from everyone on the panel. So we'll start with Zion. What were your thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984? Anything that particularly stood out to you, good or bad?
Well, I mean, first off, I agree with your point that the acting, I think, all around was pretty great. As far as the story threads, I felt like some of them were kind of inconsistent as far as how the movie was playing along. It felt like one scene was like a very light tone, then it's switched to a dark tone, then back and forth. It's like, I don't know if it was because of some behind the scenes thing but it felt just inconsistent just on a face value level. I think the acting was the best parts of the film, both for Gal and Pedro Pascal and Christopher Reeve, all of them. They did a great job. I think Steve Trevor's character, obviously we can't go into the specifics, but I think he was the worst character of the film for just in terms of his role and just what he's doing in the film. As far as the story itself, it was an interesting story. I don't agree with some of the things they did, some of the choices they made. I know we'll get to this more spoilers on Sunday's Build Different stream, but overall, I think it was a good movie. It just felt inconsistent tonally and within the story threads. It felt like there was some kind of disconnect between one scene and the next and one plot point and the next. So I'm not sure if that switched up midway and that's why it felt like that, or if there was some kind of internal reshoots. But just in my opinion, I think it was a good movie overall. Like, I enjoyed it, but I don't think it would be one of my top in the DCEU, and it fell short of the majestic nature of the first Wonder Woman film.
Or what do you think about that? You agree? You disagree? What are your thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I thought I think the first 2 acts kind of suffered with kind of being a little slow. But again, like, I think the setup, it was weird because I was thinking about how they kind of ended it off with like a more dramatic approach. It felt like they set it up that way. Like, it felt like it was very lighthearted. It was very relaxed in the first two acts. It was chilling. The second act kind of picked up, and then the third act kind of was a lot more dramatic. I felt like the only way you would be able to kind of not the only way, but like I think one of the maybe mindsets that they had was to make it inconsistent, maybe, so that in the last kind of act would kind of be more intensified. Just because if you made it more lighthearted and more relaxed in the start, then if it picks up slowly and at the end what we got. But I think it had some amazing moments. I think obviously Gal Gadot had some pretty crazy Wonder Woman moments. I think there's a few in this that could easily be some of her best in her whole run. So overall, they did a good job. I actually liked the Pedro Pascal's character. I thought he did a really good job. Chris Pine, I think, did a good job. He's a really good actor, so he did a good job. It's just like Zion said, he could have been maybe used a little bit better. There's multiple points where I thought, okay, you could have went another route with Tim. So it's a mixed bag, but I think the ending kind of saved a lot of it for me. I enjoyed it though. I enjoyed it throughout.
Yeah, I think on Chris Pine, I think my thoughts on that was similar to you guys. I think it's really a script issue again with Chris, and I think obviously the intention for the character is to do a reversal of Wonder Woman, the first one, which is like the first one. Diana is the person who's just fish out of water. She doesn't know what's going on, and Steve is teaching her this is ice cream, etc. And now on this thing, it's the opposite. But then they're gonna hit you over the head with, oh, we're in the 1980s again and again and again. It's like, we got it, it's the name of the movie. But like, you're gonna hit you over the head with a few times that Chris Pine. They're gonna put it like, oh, what is this? What is he wearing? Oh, he's wearing a fanny pack or whatever, right? So it's like that joke, which doesn't always land with me, but I think his character could have been used better. Then again, I think probably arguably one of the top two best moments of the movie involved Steve Trevor, and we can talk about it more, of course, later in a spoiler discussion. But Samir, I'm gonna hand it over to you. What are your first impressions out of Wonder Woman? Do you agree with any of us on the panel? Do you have your own thoughts? What do you think about this movie?
I think overall it was an all right movie. If I'm being honest, I think to me it reminded me of like a better version of Captain Marvel. I know Zion hates that movie, but that's what it reminds me of. And also, with the some of the humor, how it didn't land, and some of it was okay. I guess those are the similarities. But I didn't really see I don't really understand the motivations for Pedro Pascal's character. So I don't really like the villain either. But it was an enjoyable movie, I guess.
I agree with the motivation part. I think I talked about that in my full review, that some of the motivations for both characters, we could talk about the villains now and make that the next subject because Samir led us into that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Cheetah wasn't used either, like proper. Well, not proper. I mean, they did an okay job. I just felt, again, like Samir said, the motivations weren't the greatest.
I think everything.
But I actually disagree.
But
I disagree with Samir, and we could talk about it on the live stream about Pedro Pascal's character. I actually thought he was.
No, I thought the acting was good.
Glaring.
So yeah, it's like, okay, I'm trying to see what's in the trailers that we could talk about, but yeah. So Pedro Pascal's character, obviously Maxwell Lord, he's very different from the comic version. That's for true. So they took him in a different version. Sometimes he felt very like half Lex Luthor, half Donald Trump. Like they're trying to do something with this guy, and that was the hairstyle and everything. So I don't know again if it's too on the nose or not, which is where I come back to. Like, are you beating us over the head with the fact that, oh, this is like a Donald Trump type guy with the hairstyle and like goes a con artist, businessman turning this. So I was like, I don't know what some of the imagery what they're going for. Did it always land with me? No, but I thought in the third act is when Pedro 100% like just took over, and I actually like Pedro more in The Mandalorian. I thought he just does a better job in that role, but for this, where he gets to be more eccentric and be like a villain, I'm sure he enjoyed it more because obviously he's wearing a helmet most of the time in the other show. But for this one, it's like the third act. Yeah, he shows up in the third act, especially again when you get more dramatic, when you get more emotional. That's when his character looks better. When you get really over the top with the jokes, then sometimes it's like, I don't know about that. But most of the time, I felt like that was good. In terms of Cheetah, I thought she was better when she was just like Barbara, like the Barbara arc before she obviously becomes Cheetah, which very much feels like it's just made for the fight scene, And then that fight scene, of course, we can also talk about that in the thing, but it was okay. That was maybe a little short, but that's again talk for another time. But villains, Jan, what did you think about both villains? Did one stand out to you more than the other, or did both stand out to you? How did that work out?
First, I completely agree with the Cheetah aspect. I felt like when she was her Barbara version of the character in the movie, the story thread and the arc that she was going through was much more compelling and much more just interesting to watch than when she obviously became Cheetah. However, she became Cheetah. As far as Pedro Pascal, I think his performance was the best in the film from beginning to end, in my opinion. I think it's just that like Samir said, it's kind of his motivation was a little weird, and I know we'll get to specifics later. Something doesn't make sense, and that obviously falls back into the disconnects and story threads. Like it's almost like they didn't know what they were doing, or they didn't know what they're trying to do, so they're trying a lot of different things. So it was confusing to see what are these characters even trying to do. But as far as just the acting alone, Pedro Pascal, I think he was the best in the entire film. But the villains, they were good, but I don't think neither of them are highlight villains in the DCEU by any stretch, in my opinion. But as far as the film itself, the performances were good, and it's just that they carried the story rather than the story itself.
Yeah, I would agree that. In the end, if someone asked me right now, what did Maxwell Lord even want in this movie, really? I would say I'm not sure, because I'm not sure what he really wanted, what was the end goal of this character. Like, it feels like everything he was doing led to something else he was doing. I guess it's maybe overall feast on maybe greed. I don't know what they're trying to like exactly go into. I guess to try to tie to something else. Again, spoiler part, I'll talk about it later. But it's interesting because it's a movie where I would say if there was a different year, if this came out in 2019, we might have been a little harsher on it. Like, that's my thought on it. Like, if this came out in its original release date and we compared it to other movies of 2019, like Joker, like Endgame, etc., then it would like stand more like, okay, this movie wasn't what it could have been. I think in 2020, I think it coming at the end of a very challenging year, I think a lot of people will be more softer on it, that, okay, this is a movie that like we're getting, it's a good time. Like, the tone obviously is very representative of the era the movie takes place in. So it's an 80s movie through and through, both with the setting, but also with the tone. Like, there's a bunch of callbacks to Christopher Reeves between the, I think, moment, it might have been the trailer where, you know, she winks at the camera. She's like, Gal Gadot's doing her Christopher Reeve impression here as far as she could. And then there's a lot of like at some point, she's like, oh, it's even Superman now. Like, there's a lot of like Superman-esque thing going on. And of course, they do call back to Linda Carter a lot, you know, the original Wonder Woman. So these two things, it's a throwback movie. It's a throwback movie where it's like, here's what things used to be like in the 80s, and here's also the superhero movies were in the 80s and the superhero TV shows in the 70s, and let's do a homage to that. And that's what it felt like. So if that's your cup of tea, then you're gonna love this movie. But if that's something you're not 100% going with, then you're gonna come out of this movie a little lukewarm. So that's kind of the best analogy I can give towards the wider situation. So we talked about tone, we talked about villains, we talked about our first thoughts, but let's give our scores to the movie. Like, what's our overall score? And mine is also already written on my review, so I'll just start off. I give it 3.5 out of 5. Again, 3.5 is like, you know, it's like a 70, you know, 70 out of 100, you know, like you did a good job, but you know, it's like, could have been a little better. Not the highs of Wonder Woman, the original one, but still, you know, solid entry to the DCEU is how I would put it. So 3.5 for me. What about you guys?
Same.
Yeah, same, 3.5. I think you said it well.
Samir?
I'd give it a 3. Just a 3 out of 5.
It was 3.5. So 3 of us and 3 out of for one of us. So we're all basically on the same page on this one, which is, you know, I still encourage you guys to watch it. I think it's worth watching. It's worth, especially if you love the Wonder Woman character, if you're a fan of DC. I think there is something you take away from it. There's going to be something you like out of it. I think that's for sure. So let's transition from the movie to our rankings of the DCEU. Should I start, or do you guys want to start? Who should go first?
Yeah, I can start.
Yeah.
All right, so I got my ranking right here. So yeah, there's been 9 movies. I know a lot of us don't like to count the theatrical version of Justice League, but unfortunately it exists, so it has to be part of the list. I think for me, by far, BVS is number 1. I think no movie comes close to it. Man of Steel is great, but nothing matches BVS in my opinion. And so BVS would be number 1, Man of Steel number 2, for obvious reasons. It's obviously a great film. The action is unmatched still in the DCU for Man of Steel. And I don't think it will be matched again. Maybe Zack Snyder Justice League will see something, but number 3 is Wonder Woman, the original one. I thought that was a great film as well. Number 4, I have Aquaman, which was a lot of people are iffy on it now, especially a little time away from it. But I think it holds up. It was visually great. The fight scenes are great, and the score is amazing as well. So that's number 4. Number 5 for me is Shazam. I know, again, that's another film that a lot of DCEU fans are very iffy about. It's like split down the middle because they don't appreciate the tone or the lightheartedness of it. But I think it had the perfect mix of dark and light when it needed to. Obviously, with the horror director, you have those horror elements as well. I think they handled that perfectly. I mean, it's a kid who becomes a superhero, so obviously it has to be lighthearted. For number 6, I have Wonder Woman 84, which obviously, like we said, 3.5 is like a B plus, between B plus type film. Obviously, it had its issues, but as far as just the enjoyment of the film, it outweighed some of the smaller issues of the film. So I have that at 6. Number 7, Birds of Prey, which have equal ranking to Wonder Woman 84. So it was really a toss-up between these two. So I just based it on just face value enjoyment. I felt like Wonder Woman 84 was just slightly more enjoyable to watch as far as just the story of it. And number 8 is Suicide Squad. Obviously, it had its issues behind the scenes, and hopefully David Ayer gets to release his original true version one day down the road. But as far as the version we got, obviously it had its issues. So that's number 8. And number 9, obviously, is the worst film in almost the worst film in superhero history, which is the theatrical version of Justice League.
All right, who wants to go next? Umar, you want to take this next one?
Sure. Well, so I like Zion. I got Batman v Superman number 1. Obviously, I think it's the greatest that the DCU has to offer. I think Man of Steel is a close second. Then I have Wonder Woman. Now, here's the thing. Like, when we watched Aquaman, I was a huge fan in the start. I think when we first watched it, I absolutely loved it. But over time, let's just say
it's not aging well.
It's not aging well. So, and then Shazam was always a toss-up for me. And Birds of Prey, I'm not even gonna start on because I was not a fan of Birds of Prey. So I have Wonder Woman 1984 as my 4th. Then Aquaman, then Shazam.
Wait. What's your 3rd?
Wonder Woman, the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shazam. I actually have Suicide Squad above Birds of Prey, and then I have Birds of Prey, then Justice League. So that's it's a little different than Zion's. I think our top 3 are obviously the same, and then we start disagreeing from that point onwards.
All right, Samir, take us home. I'll finish this off, so you go to the next one.
All right, I got Man of Steel first. We talked about this on the Build Different stream. I got Man of Steel over BVS. BVS second. Then I have Wonder Woman, the first one. Then I have Aquaman. Then I have Wonder Woman 84 because I think some of the scenes just outweigh it compared to Shazam. I think they just resonate more than any of the Shazam scenes. Even though Shazam was just an enjoyable movie overall. So I have Shazam after Wonder Woman 84. And then I have Birds of Prey, The Suicide Squad, and then Justice League.
So far, all three of you guys have the same top. Actually, no, take it back. You have similar same top 3, but in different order. All of us picked BVS, Man of Steel, and Wonder Woman top. I'm gonna agree with Samir and put Man of Steel over BVS. So Man of Steel is my number 1 for obvious reasons. We talked about again on the Built Different stream. We did a whole debate about it. Man of Steel versus BVS. So Man of Steel is number 1. Batman vs Superman's number 2. Both are great. They're 10 out of 10 movies for me. So in some ways you can interchange them. Just Man of Steel resonates a bit more with me. My 3rd, just like you guys, I'm gonna pick Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman has this. There's something about Wonder Woman that feels more grander than most films do, and I think it's because maybe it's the first time that character's coming to screen and for our own solo film. But also the tone is like the perfect superhero tone, where you do have the hopefulness, but it's also very grim and very dark where it needs to be. It's obviously takes place during World War I, and they're not shy about letting you know this place takes place during a war. And the no man's land scene to this day, it's like it's top 10, top 5 scenes for a superhero movie. So that alone puts Wonder Woman at 3. I'm going to be a little more kinder to Wonder Woman 1984. As of right now, I put it above Shazam. I think I'm the only one from you guys who did, unless Umar did it also. I'm not sure though. So I'm going to put Wonder Woman 1984 over Shazam as right under Wonder Woman. Again, I like Samir. I'm going to say the good far outweighs the bad. And I think there are a lot of scenes in this movie which, when we look back, especially in the third act, we're going to say, okay, these scenes were standouts. Aquaman is very much a third act heavy film as well. That's why, for me, Aquaman and Wonder Woman 84 are very similar, because they both are at their best in the third act, and they're kind of choppy the first two acts. And Aquaman is much more choppy the second act. Wonder Woman is more choppy in the first act. So very interchangeable. I go with Wonder Woman 84 over Aquaman, but following right up is Aquaman. So I have Aquaman right there, coming up right behind 84. Then we get to Shazam. Shazam, I think, again, had things going for it. I would consider it more like, your average good film. Like, its budget was lower, so you're not going to get the big CGI spectacle that's going to look clean. But I thought David Sandberg did a pretty good job directing with it. I thought all the kid actors did a really good job in the movie. Zachary Levi did an okay job in the movie. So I think when they were their kids, especially the kid Billy Batson, kid Freddie, they were running this movie. So I like those scenes the most, which gives this movie that much of an edge. I have Birds of Prey following up next. Birds of Prey, it's the darkest DCEU movie probably, but it's like a dark comedy. But I would still say there's some things with the movie that didn't click with me throughout. Some of the characters are good. I like the characters, like Black Canary. I think Harley Quinn, it's either you like her or you're not gonna like her as a character. She's obviously acted very well by Margot Robbie, but again, it comes down to script, it comes down to directing. I thought this movie was just not my cup of tea, but Suicide Squad's right around that. I'm not 100% a big fan of the Suicide Squad franchise as a whole, so that's why I'm not overly excited for James Gunn's Suicide Squad. So like Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, Suicide Squad 2, like these movies are all kind of in one bubble for me, and I'm not 100% excited for them, so they don't click with me. And that's why Suicide Squad in particular, not only did it not click with me, it's also not a director's vision. So even more so, I would put that below. And then Justice League, there's enough said about it as it is on this podcast. It's not a real movie. So let's say what it is. And so that's my list. That's all of our lists. The question is, how would you rank the DCEU? If you've seen Wonder Woman 84, please do not put spoilers in the comments, but give us your rankings if you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, give your rankings without it, and then come back in the weekend and catch the Build Different stream at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to be talking about it in spoilers. So make sure you check it out. It's coming out on HBO Max in just a couple of days. So watch the movie. If you're in a cinema-safe area and you have the ability to go to a movie theater and you're socially distanced, go ahead, see on the big screen, because that's what the director, Pat Jenkins, intended. And we'll be here on Sunday to discuss it more in depth with spoilers. So get ready for that one. From myself, from Zayan, from Umar, and from Samir, we're the Farooqi Brothers. We'll see you next time. Peace out.